Welcome to the podcast. It's the best podcast in the world. This is going to end up on the show. I know it, motherfucker.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to episode 113 of Epitome of Stupidity, your favorite allegedly metal podcast. Going to do something a little different this time around. The intro song today is Beehive off the recently released Texas Math album by a band called A Deer, a Horse. And then for outro, we're going to play a different song that we'll talk about later. Sounds fun, right? It's because it's going to be. I got to tell you, I am... this isn't your mom telling you that your shitty art project actually looks good when we both know it doesn't. I'm really excited about this fucking show. This band is a favorite of mine, and their new album did not let down. But anyways, we'll talk more about them later. If you're new here, welcome in. I'm Clint. I'll be your host, and I have what is considered to be the correct amount of fingers and toes, but not great eyesight. If you're not new here, I'd like you to know the same thing I just told everybody else, as well as the fact that I'm glad that you came back, and please keep doing so. I'm going to tell you a secret that I think everyone should know, which is not what a secret is at all, but still. That is that if you go to brimminghornmeadery.com and pick out some delicious and award-winning mead, not only will they ship it right to your fucking door, but if you use code EPITOMEAD, that's EPITOMEAD at checkout, they'll give you a fucking discount. Wild times, right? Again, that's brimminghornmeadery.com. The code is EPITOMEAD, EPITOMEAD. What am I listening to lately? I'm going to tell you. I'm glad you didn't ask. I don't know that since this new Texas Math album came out on September 27th, I don't know that there's been 2 consecutive days that I didn't push play on it. I've gone back to the previous album, Grind, as well, and they're just fucking great. Outside of that, I'm still on a good Sugar Horse run. If you haven't heard the episode before this one with Ash of Sugar Horse, let alone their album, The Grand Scheme of Things, you should correct that soon. Also, I'm not going to lie, my kind of softer side got a new album on Friday, October 11th. There's a band called Dawes that I really like. Again, they're real mellow, softer rock type stuff. And the album's called Oh Brother. I've enjoyed it more than twice since then. Stop looking at me like that. I know it's not metal, but whatever, man. I enjoy it. Anywho, let's do a quick roundup on A Deer, a Horse before we chat with them, yeah? So, formed in Brooklyn, the band themselves are Angela on vocals and bass, Dylan on drums, Marissa on guitar, and Ripley on guitar and backing vocals. I think this is the first time I've read more than one name, and I'm pretty sure I got them all right. They first caught my attention with 2022's album Grind, but they've been around with some lineup changes since the early 2010s, I believe. They can make just some fucking wonderful jumps from song to song, each working better than the last, from sounding like almost like a modern grunge thing to absolutely defining noise rock to hitting the melodic stuff and more. But maybe my favorite thing about them is that it always sounds like them in a room playing. It's them and the fucking instruments, and it's I don't know if they are live recording or anything like that, but it always just sounds like them and the music. And it's easy to call that stripped down nowadays, but fuck that. I'm going to call it awesome and right. Let's talk with them about all things A Deer, a Horse. Maybe? Yeah. Now I'll make a terrible dad joke and say that I'm going to Clint a phone and make phone sounds. Beep, 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 boop, boop, boop. Ring. And they answered. On the line with me today are 3 of the 4 members of A Deer, a Horse, Angela, Marissa, and Dylan. How the hell are you guys today?
Couldn't be better.
Great. Thanks so much for asking. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Happy to. I believe you guys had a later night than I did. I fell asleep to Evil Dead 2 for the 900th fucking time around 9 p.m. last night, 9:30, something like that. But you guys did something much more fucking fun and had an album release show. How the hell did that go?
What excellent. We had a wonderful turnout, really, really good vibes, really good bands. And none of us got to bed before 3 a.m. So always a good one when that happens.
Outside of that, typically start these things with a. Actually, no, we should do the round robin here. Introduce everybody and what they do in the band. Angela, you seem to be quick to talk here. We'll start with you.
All right. Well, I'm Angela Phillips. I'm the lead vocalist and bassist of the band. Yeah.
My tiles have rearranged, so I'm going to go left to right here and go to Dylan next.
All right. I'm Dylan Taggart. I play drums in a Deer Horse.
That leaves.
Yeah, I am Marissa Mazada, and I play guitar in a Deer Horse.
And I think you have the best last name of the band.
I agree.
The alliteration.
We all agree on that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the easy way to start a lot of these things, since it's a music show, talking to musical acts more often than not, is what are you listening to lately?
Well, the new Chat Pile album just came out. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all good.
New Chat Pile just came out. Definitely been spinning Cool World. And I am preparing for I'm in an Alice in Chains cover band, so I'm preparing for our Halloween sets. And so I've also been listening to a lot of Alice in Chains recently in preparation for that.
I really woke up with a song from the I doubt you're doing any songs from the, what is it, Rainy or Fog, the newest album.
Oh yeah, unfortunately or not, but I like that new album.
Yeah, I randomly woke up with a song from that stuck in my head today and listened to that twice before I ended up going back to you guys. Anyways, we'll continue with the left to right thing here on my end. So Marissa, you'll stick to being last. Dylan next.
Chat Pile wasn't on my list, so yeah, I haven't listened to that album yet. Though I did like a couple of the singles they released. I'm just looking at like what I have on my Spotify list here of like my best favorite new songs. Some of the new St. Vincent was really good. Some of the new Dead was really good. Some of the new Smile, Porcelain. Some friends of ours released a really good album. Some of the new Thou, that record I really liked. Babe Haven had a really good album. Lupe Fiasco had a really good album. So Cozy Mueller from Berlin, really like her stuff. She just put out a new album a couple days ago. And then I recently came across Zach Bryan. I guess he's like a country artist. I kind of like that album too. I don't normally listen to it. I don't really like modern country that much, but it was a good one.
He's a guy that I've heard from a handful of people like, no, yeah, you should listen to them. And like the contrarian in me says, you know what? No, not doing it. And I'm probably missing out on good music, but I get to be a jerk, so I guess it doesn't even out. Whatever works. Marissa, how you doing? What are you listening to?
I'm great. Yeah. I guess I'm kind of pretty bad about it. I don't really listen to a lot of like new stuff unless it's kind of brought to my attention or friends of ours or whatnot. But there's a band called Crumb. They had a record come back out in springtime. I've been kind of pretty good against that. And I don't know, it might be a guilty pleasure, and this is definitely outside of the normal realm of what I would say, but some of the new Billie Eilish stuff is a little infectious. Can't kind of not into it.
Yeah, her new album is sick. I saw her do a quote like listening party performance thing of it at Barclays here in New York. I happened to be working the event, and she's really good. I really like it, and a lot of her shit is actually pretty dark too. So I second you there, Marissa, on that new Billie Eilish. That's true.
I guess this leads to me saying that I'll listen to Billie Eilish, but I don't want to outright lie, so I'll say that stuff instead. Can we get a quick history lesson / cliff notes in a Deer or Horse?
Dylan, do you want to do it? Or you want me to do it?
I think you should start it. At least you were in the band before I was.
I guess that's true. All right. Well, a Deer or Horse started as a sort of like duo project of myself and a former member. It started as her like sort of realization of a college songwriting project. She and I both went to college together. Rebecca is her name. And so she and I got together, started making music with various drummers. Until we met Dylan around 2015. We all played in a different band together, and then the Deer Horse drummer at the time quit, and we still had shows on the books, and we asked Dylan to come fill in, and it just turned out that things felt right, and Dylan outright joined the band. Then during the pandemic, we did tons and tons of touring, with the old lineup with myself, Dylan, and Rebecca. And then during the pandemic, a lot changed for everybody. Rebecca kind of put it in perspective for her that she didn't really like touring that much, that she wanted to pursue a different direction with music. And she went off solo, and Dylan and I decided to continue the band. And now we have the fully realized, amazingly packaged
Full with
version
hand
of the band
motions.
that we have now. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, brief history of A Dear Horse right there.
Okay. To the modern or now times, we've got the new album, Texas Math, that came out September 27th. How has reception been thus far?
Yeah, I mean, I think the reception has been really positive. We've been noticing like a really steady and continuous increase in listenership, and streaming and followers. And I think too last night again, our early show went over really well. We're really excited to get on the road in November here in the States, and just keep pushing it. The music videos have been really helping, yeah, we've been getting a lot of really positive response across the board, and it feels like this record especially is accessible to a wider range of people in a great way. We are getting into maybe ears we would normally be into.
So, in case it's not clear, I'm not the world's most serious person. So some of this stuff, if my dumb fucking face doesn't relay it, is sarcasm laden. Which leads me to the next question of what the fuck is Texas Math? And I hope it's as funny as it is in my head, said as someone who is terrible at fucking actual math.
Angela?
Dylan?
Yeah, so the meeting, it was kind of just the working title for the album. And it was just something I would say to Angela in rehearsal. Angela, like, both Marissa and I were bartenders for a long time, so we're both pretty good with math. We can do like math really quickly, especially for money stuff, because we did it for professionally. But Angela, on the other hand, not so quick with numbers.
Angela's officially my gal.
And because Angela's from Dallas, we just said, and Marissa and I are from the Northeast. We just call Angela's math skills Texas Math. So it's when Angela does math and it's like, 7 times 7, or like, and she's like 36 or whatever, or like, 3 plus 5, it's equals 9 kind of situation. But yeah, we would just say that's not math, that's Texas Math. That's not the real thing.
Too, just, like when something doesn't make sense, it's Texas Math. It doesn't quite add up. We call it Texas Math.
And see, like, Rational Brain says it's probably something like that. Hopeful Brain was going for something like what Dylan explained. Olive Brain got fucking both of them. I am fucking calling it a win today. So, typically with the next question here, it's more of a general way of getting into talking about the songwriting process. But with you guys, and particularly this song, I want to be a little more specific. On the song Committed, what came first? The riff or the lyrics and or the melody? Because parts of that feel so fucking specific. I've been wondering about it essentially since the first time I heard it.
Oh yeah, the riff definitely came first.
Did it?
Yeah. We write pretty collaboratively. We all kind of jam together in rehearsal. It's very rare that songs don't come out of a jam. We'll jam and then we'll record our jams and then we'll go back and sort of like listen again. But I actually distinctly remember Marissa, I think, was just fucking around, like not even actually, we weren't even like really jamming yet. Marissa was just started to play the opening riff to Committed, just kind of to herself. And Dylan was like, what is that? That's sick. Keep playing that. And that's kind of the onus for that.
I don't know that I was expecting that. I think that was the one time I was betting on the lyric or the melody to have actually come first. I like that you mentioned that you guys are constantly collaborative and playing in the room together, because for a band that's gone through some lineup changes, you guys sound like you've been together for fucking ages, and each component really does a good job of complementing the next. There's no way that works out as easily as it sounds, right? Let's go for drama clicks here. Tell me about some fucking band fights that came, like actual fisticuffs. during the writing process? Or last night. Fuck it. I don't care.
I don't know. I feel like Angela and I are in a permanent state of of warfare. No, Angela and I are close. You know, we've been working together for a long time, so we're pretty close. So we get into it, I'd say, more often than anyone in the band, because we can also get over it quite fast.
Sure.
So we're probably the most hard-headed. So I guess I would say we argue the most, but it's never like, I guess Committed was a stressful recording process. Angela, we hadn't really recorded anything in a minute, and Angela was having a bit of a hard time in the studio, and that nothing ever comes to blows. I think Marissa would take us all out pretty quick, but yeah, but that's really it. We try to not let anything get too heated, I guess. So it's all relative.
Who would actually be the biggest physical challenge for you, Marissa?
I don't know. They say like what, tall trees go down harder. So maybe I'm more worried about Angela.
Okay.
In a certain capacity.
Well, another thing, another detail about me that both Dylan and Marissa know is that I'm a 2-time state champion wrestler, and also a purple belt
Also
in
a 5-time
jiu-jitsu.
concussion haver.
I have a 5-time concussion, but 3 of those 5, as you remember from ice skating, not from wrestling. So
No. I think one good hit to the head, you're going. You're going to be eaten out of a tube for the rest of your life.
Don't joke about these things.
Better go knock on some wood.
Good.
Shit bar. That's funny. So outside of my specificity there, what is the walk me through a typical song process for the writing? That's a stupid fucking sentence, but I hope you understand the way it was supposed to have gone together.
Yeah, well, I feel like, again, kind of reiterating what Angela said, we come in a rehearsal. Sometimes, maybe there's an idea that someone has worked on at home, whether, Dylan has like a certain beat that's been stuck in his head that he wants to try to play out, or Angela has been working on, some kind of chord progression or vocal melody or whatnot. But a lot of it really just, again, happens in the room. And yeah, whether whoever chimes in first on something, we just kind of go with that idea. And again, we record pretty much everything and go back and forth and see what things mix and what doesn't. And Dylan's good about, being able to kind of take some of the ideas too and putting them together so we can kind of hear a more cohesive version. And that helps in figuring out, what's worth pursuing in the moment. Maybe, something should have some more attention, or we should, put time into a new idea. But yeah, again, kind of it's an organic process for us, and it's one that kind of happens together and is the most fruitful when it's like us all together kind of working on it, I would say.
I like that you mentioned something about Dylan specifically there, because the more I listen to the album, it's kind of similar to a Generation of Vipers who were on the show recently. Where, like, the more I listen to the album, the more it feels like some of these songs are built around the fucking drum part.
Dylan probably loves that you said that.
Is that an actual thing, or is that just where you're kind of filling in the gaps as you're putting the song together?
I don't know. I think often it does feel like, and this has been the case with other bands I've been into. I think you can have a lot of great parts, like melodic parts, but without a solid rhythm or rhythm section or beat, it does really change the way you feel the song. So I wouldn't say like things changed into gear when the drums get sorted out. Sometimes the drums are the catalyst for the song, like Marissa mentioned, but other times it is just it helps. Well, okay, it's like, okay, boom, we figured out the drums, and now we can like build on top of that. So it's like the foundation. I think, as a lot of bands would say, it's like the rhythm section is kind of keeping everything grounded, and okay, if I just keep playing this beat, you're going to be able to put together the rest of your melody and have that solid foundation to fall back on. To me, that's rhythm section in general, but it does with the drums, because it's so loud and so in your face. It is usually the drums in a way that keep that foundation.
Does that add to you and Angela's Fight Club thing there with the whole rhythm section thing? Her being the bass, you being the drums.
Sometimes, but I have to say that because we've been playing together for so long, I actually think that we tend to be able to communicate a lot of times without even saying anything. Like, I know that there are plenty of times, and I'm sure Marissa has witnessed this in rehearsal as well, where we'll be playing something or other, and then I'll just be able to sort of like look at Dylan, or Dylan will be able to sort of look at me, and like we'll kind of like nod to something or whatever, and it'll be like sort of a unspoken cue, and we'll just know. I mean, obviously there's times where that doesn't actually work out. Like we like miss each other
You went
a
left,
little
I
bit,
went
but
right. Yeah.
yeah, but I would say that more often than not, because it's so natural at this point, and we've been doing it for so long, that actually is more the rule than the exception. That happens, and sure, of course, there's disagreements about creative direction and everything, but that's just the nature of a band, you know.
Sure. What are you guys' favorite songs on the album? Angela, you were just talking. We'll do it the opposite way from me here. Marissa, start us off.
That's a tough one, in that I feel like, I don't know. I feel like we were having a similar discussion earlier at practice. I think I would have to say that my favorite song would be Plastic.
I actually have that written down as one of my favorites.
What do you like about it? I would love to hear that.
I love the way the fucking album is put together, where you've got like this. You guys do such a good job of the whole peaks and valleys thing, and the album is never boring. It feels like you never hit the same BPM 2 songs in a row. You never hit the same level of aggression or lack of 2 songs in a row. And where that one fits in with the melodies and stuff, and the guitar line and everything, it's to say a kind of fucking dickhead thing. I wonder if I would like it as much if it was arranged differently on the album. I think where it hits in the album, the way it's lined up, is just fucking perfect. And by the time it's the chorus is hitting and everything, I just love it.
No, we put a lot of time and thought into the order of the album specifically, so it's really awesome to kind of hear you say that.
Sure, yeah, no, it flows so well. We'll go to Dylan.
I'm probably tied with Plastic Palm Trees and Texas Math, but for me, the end of Texas Math and Plastic Palm Trees, I had a kind of my first real big role with mixing more, like mixing some of the percussion and the extra arrangements. So I feel like I had a bit more of a granular experience with each of those songs that made them feel a bit more, I don't know, when I listen to them, it feels a bit more intimate, just because I had to really kind of quantify what each of these parts mean to me, because I'm going to be mixing them in the background, and I can't be having them interact and clash with the actual song, because some of the layers were recorded after the fact and like not in the studio with us. So then I had to go at home and kind of mix them in later, just to make Jamie, the main engineer's life easier. So I don't know, I just kind of having to, it's like one of those like Sophie's Choice type things, where it's like, I like, these songs are great, but if I make the wrong decision, it could really fuck them up. And with those, that was a tricky part, because I would be cutting away things I like, parts that were written by other, either percussion parts or parts that were kind of like auxiliary or layered parts that sometimes you get demoitis and attached to. You're just like, if I leave this in, what is the real, is this really, what is the value of the song relative to the value of these parts? And you have to cut them away. And I don't know. And when I listen back to it, hearing it all together, and then what Jamie, our mixing engineer, did with it, and what we all decided on, I don't know. I'm just proud of how they came out. So that's why.
What's the kill your darlings thing when it comes to stuff like this? Like, I wrote this, I love this, but if I fucking kill half of it, it makes it even better for people that aren't me.
Yeah, it's always interesting because people don't really know what things could have been with songs, and every band has that, where it's like, well, you should have heard it before. Right. It was either a mess or it was better, or it's like, if we had done this. And I definitely have that with songs I've written in this band and then other bands I've been in, and With those, I think they just came together just right. And sometimes they're not everyone's favorite songs, but from a mix perspective, sometimes you're like, damn, that just sounds good. And Plastic Palm Trees, especially the end, and Texas Math, just has a good soundscape, I think, to them.
You've got some shoes to fill here, Angela. Let's hear what you think.
Well, I think that probably for me, the Leash is up there. Because it's there's a couple of things about it. It's the only song on the album that I basically brought in and then we worked on together. It was super basic, but I had the lyrics and melody and it's not a very complex chord progression. It's only 2 chords the whole way through the song, but I had the basic chord progression down, which is not saying a lot. So these guys heard it, and I was kind of nervous to bring it in because that's not how we work a lot. And I didn't want to step on anybody's toes or be like, oh, I wrote this thing. It's always weird when you like kind of bring an almost completed song, from the like vocal side of things, to this project that we don't really write like that. So, I was really happy that Dylan and Marissa were like, oh yeah, like, they heard something in it. And so it was good. And that song is, just a very personal song for me. So, it's an honest song. It's a direct song. It's a good song. And it's sometimes really hard to be like that honest about things that are upsetting, in music, because you're like, God, do I really like wanna, it's not comfortable sometimes to show
Sure.
people stuff like that. But like, the way that I approach writing lyrics is that it's always some way to work through my feelings about something. And so there's that aspect of it. But then the other aspect of it is that it's like actually a very challenging vocal song for me. So it helped kind of like expand my horizons as a vocalist. So and it's still a pretty challenging song to sing. So I think that one's up there for me, but also I love Plastic Palm Trees and I love Texas Math, and I think it's because the production is just so incredible on those songs, and that slide solo right at the end of Plastic Palm Trees, woo, it gets me. I love that slide solo. And Texas Math, it's just the layer. It was the last song we wrote together. So it was kind of like we felt free. We felt like we could do whatever we wanted with it, and we started to try to like shove it all into a box and make it something that it wasn't trying to be. And we approached it from a bunch of different angles, and then we just ended up right back at where we started, which was this like kind of basic, really natural, again, very honest lyrics. Lyrics that are also like another side of things where like, damn, I really don't like to talk about how I feel like a failure, like that's not what I typically like to present to the world, but we all feel like failures sometimes. And, that song is really about that. So, uncomfortable lyrics, but honest. So yeah, that's a great one too. Yeah, it's hard for me to pick, but probably those ones.
There's like 3 actual things that I have questions written down about that I could easily jump from to here. But since you finished with talking about the song Texas Math and Dylan brought it up previously, I'm gonna jump with that. It's so melancholy and so fucking great, and what a just amazing way to finish the album. I want to ask more about how it came together. Was it clear that it was going to be the closer for the album from the get-go? I guess we can skip what it's about because you kind of hit that there for a second. But just, and especially knowing that it was the last thing written and you guys went about it from some different angles, just tell me more about that song because I'm fucking enamored with it.
I feel like, I mean, Texas Math, I think, was pretty much written like a few weeks before the band went off to Europe for a tour that I actually wasn't able to go on. and we were kind of feeling like in crunch mode. Where I feel like, I don't know, guys, I think I kind of started the little like guitar, the main guitar part that you hear when everything kind of clicks in, like, and I think it just kind of morphed off of that. And definitely it was one of those things where I don't think it was natural for us to like sit back a little bit and kind of enjoy the space. And we did it with this, and it felt really good. And at that point too, I think in the songwriting process, we had kind of on some things come to like a conclusion. It's like, you know what feels good? Let's play it. Like, let's do what feels good, and don't try to force anything. And I'm glad that Texas Math doesn't feel forced, and we just let it kind of do its own thing, and it really went on a journey. We talk about this like feeling of like being on like this like slow moving train, like going through the desert, like you're on a walk, you're going and you're moving along. And I think that the song is this journey that, you know, culminates at the end of the album, but also starts whatever could be next. And it's a very leading song in a lot of ways. Yeah.
Was it something that you knew was going to be the closer when you guys were done with it?
No, and I don't necessarily know if we even knew what we were going to call it. And that, you know, there's a lot of questions like, you know, this last song, if we call it the name of the album, because I think at that point we knew we were going to kind of go with Texas Math for the name of the record. You know, a lot of people was like, will associate that being the whole sound of everything. So there was a lot of back and forth and conversation about that. But yeah, I think it just came in and it filled a void, and there was nothing that, you know, we didn't go into it with any kind of set expectations of where it would be, what it would be, and how it would be.
Nice. And then the opposite side of that is Beehive. I love that it starts off with the fucking aggression and just the overall nature of the song, you know, through the opening vocal thing and then the pounding ass fucking drums and the riff just kind of snaking around everything. It's a great way to start the album. So kind of similar to everything I've asked previously. Did you know that was going to be what started the album? How did it come together? Other things that make sense to ask in relation to.
Beehive. Yeah, Angela and I had discussed wanting to kind of like make an answer to Bitter, or like a response to Bitter, which is like on our first album, which was quite popular, and we just really like the drive of it. And then I think we've been like trying to do that for a long time, like even when it was just the two of us before Marissa joined. But the song really came we had the concept of doing that, but the song kind of, I feel like, came together more once Marissa was in the band, and then we actually like the concept became an actual song. So like Angela's always wanted to start a song with the chorus for years. Yeah, it doesn't usually work out, but in this time we really kind of forced it to happen. The drum beat was one of the early things that happened. I think I remember just kind of bringing the drum beat in or something. I can't really. It's all a bit of a blur, but we just kind of wanted to have something that had the high energy kind of like bounciness of Bitter, while also having just like a psychotic energy to it. Kind of, it started with the vocals and built, and then had I don't know. I'm not explaining this well, but I just remember the drum beat in the middle. I had this drum beat in my back pocket for a while. It's kind of like a Black MIDI inspired drum beat, which comes after the second verse, and brings in some of my, some of my old influences. But it kind of just came together. I don't know. So Angela, you probably can explain this better. I'm kind of butchering this. To be honest, I don't really entirely recall a lot of the process. I just remember where some of my personal influences came from with the song.
Before we kick it all the way over to Angela here, I'm going to say that I fucking love your drum beat in that damn thing. Between the snappy thing that you've got going through the verses, I guess, and then the kind of tribal-ish thing is the way that I think of it throughout. I was happy to force you into talking awkwardly about it. To Angela.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I also have seemingly blacked out about the process of coming, like with the actual music of the song. I mainly, I think, because it's such a chaotic song. I think maybe it is true, Dylan, that we had some of that, at least the drum beat, before Marissa even joined the band, maybe, as like just an idea.
No, the drum beat was after Marissa for sure.
Oh, it was? Okay, never mind. I'm lying. But I can talk about, at the very least, like sort of like the lyrics. Like I know where those came from. And it was a really annoying relationship that I was in at the time, with a person who really drove me nuts. And
That's relatable.
yeah, many of us have been there, unfortunately. And yeah, I just felt like in that relationship, this person just wouldn't ever, like, we would go around in circles in arguments and things like that, and it felt like they were kicking a beehive, like, and that's how it kind of feels. It takes a lot to get me angry, but when you get me angry, it's like kicking a beehive. Really angry, Dylan. Not mad at you, angry. Baseline mad at you all the time.
You get fired up, not just at me.
Oh, fired up is different than being
Sure.
angry.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this is like, I was genuinely angry at this person. And yeah, it felt like kicking a beehive. So that's where the chorus came from, and really all the lyrics that, if you listen to them, it's obviously talking to a person. It's obviously talking about a person that you have a close relationship with and everything. So yeah, that's kind of the lyrics of that. And sometimes you're in these relationships and you get into these circular conversations where you're just like, this is never gonna resolve. And so I really feel like the guitars, especially, and like the sort of like undulating drum beat and stuff, really like get at that chaotic sort of nature of arguments. So yeah, there's like some tone painting there, to throw out a funky, stupid music term. Anyway, I hope that that's a good enough explanation of that. I don't remember much about actually the origins of that song, crazy enough. So
that's certainly going to work for my purposes here. I'm going to continue to keep you talking, though. You talk about writing songs, bringing things to the table. You're a damn fine bass player as far as I'm concerned, as someone who in some form or another calls himself a bass player. But your fucking voice could easily be considered its own damn instrument. Between the videos of you guys doing stuff, either the most recent one where the damn phone falls over and you guys are trying to harmonize, or the vocal things, how many different ways do you come at some of these vocal lines before you decide on what you're doing with the just full bag of tricks that you seem to have to do it with?
First of all, appreciate you saying all those very nice things. I'm so uncomfortable now. I think that I'm actually kind of new to vocals like this, like being a lead vocalist and everything. In the earlier iteration of the band with Rebecca, for the first, most of the band, the first like 5 years of the band, it was only her singing, and I did like some backing vocals. And I've always liked singing, but never really considered myself a vocalist. But then I'll tell you what happened. My uncle died. He died of suicide, and it was really fucked up and traumatic for my whole family. And I, like I mentioned, I write songs to work. I write lyrics to work through my real-time emotions about things. It's a catharsis. It's therapy. I know a lot of songwriters approach things like that. So I came to the band and I was like, I need to write a song about this. Like I don't know what else to do. I need to write a song about this. Nothing was helping me through that. And so I wrote the song Double Wide, which is an old single, like from years and years and years ago. And it was the only song that I sang for the longest time, but it sort of like just opened the door for me singing in this band. And I don't know, it's exciting. It's exciting to explore vocals, especially as somebody who like genuinely never really even thought about it. I just sang in the car, sang in the shower, and then during the like right when we were able to kind of get out of lockdown and start going to bars and things like that again, I got into karaoke. And so that in and of itself for professional musicians can usually lead to like fun challenges. And so I started to suddenly be like, damn, I think that I could actually do a little bit more than just scream, because that's my crutch. My crutch is screaming. And because I've always been into heavy music, always been into screaming and stuff. So I've always been like in my bedroom trying to sound like some heavy vocalist or whatever. So weirdly, the singing aspect of it is the more surprising thing for me that I was able to do. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question properly.
in my head, I've done this enough times. This is in no way, shape, or form some kind of a fucking brag. My brain is telling me it sounds like that. It's not. In my head, I've done this enough times that I knew that the end of that was, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's what I'm going to say. And my follow-up here is something lyric related. So it's not going to be the follow-up because we've talked to Dylan about drums. We've talked to you about vocals. I don't have anything specific about the guitars. So Marissa, what's for dinner tonight? This is fucking serious because I need ideas.
Because no, my doorbell just went off and my Indian delivery food has arrived. So I'll be having Indian food. It was a late night last night and we had rehearsal early this morning. So normally I would cook. But I was lazy today.
That fucking reminds me. You mentioned that's the second time you guys had fucking practice after the show last night?
We work hard.
Jesus Christ. Is that what
professionals
do?
More of a meeting. We were supposed to play, but we just kind of like had to prep for, we had to talk about.
That makes a little more sense. I can go with that. But you guys had me fucking weirded out with an actual damn band practice, especially. Anyways, whatever. In some of the descriptions you guys have for the band, it's noted as having dark, introspective lyrics, and I've seen some snippets here and there describing some of the background there when we've talked about some of them here already. Rearview was the one that caught my attention and made me want to ask this question. I'm going to do the broader thing here because I'm not smart enough to do focus questions and say what are some of the lyric things or maybe just the overall theme for the album. And I assume this is directed at you, Angela.
So obviously Dylan and Marissa have lyrical input, but I do write the majority of the lyrics and everything. But so overall the album is about like kind of a combination of a few things. Mostly it's all just super bummer vibes. Not super happy.
I just snort laughed at the sentence "super bummer vibes." I feel like I need to note that.
It's not feel good music by any means. A lot of it has to do with struggles with mental health. It has to do with a lot of religious trauma and religious indoctrination. I grew up pretty religious, Catholic specifically, and so there's a lot of me working through. I kind of only have very recently been able to unpack just how like much that fucked me up. I didn't even really consider myself a person who was like fucked up at all by that, but it has come out more and more and come up for me more and more as I've gotten older. That it's actually obvious that this has kind of fucked me up. And one of the main ways is I was deeply closeted until I was 28. And it's not even because I don't have a supportive family or anything. My family is actually very supportive people. They're not homophobic, anything like that. But I came out as bi when I was 28, and even everybody around me was like, "You're not already out," like everybody else saw it, but I didn't see it. And the only thing that I can point to is my early religious indoctrination, where like that wasn't okay. It was okay for everybody else around me, but it wasn't okay for me. And so it's just been a journey and a struggle. So, this album, like I'm finally able to like work through a lot of that stuff with these songs. So some of it's about that, some of it's about mental health, struggles with mental health. I have suicidal ideations, just all that great stuff that happens to you when you're a little unstable. And yeah, and then just, sweet feelings of failure, and one song that might be about Batman.
Oh man, I went from feeling so bad about noting that I laughed at the sentence "super bummer vibes," and then you talk through all that stuff, to feeling completely justified when we find out there's a song about Batman. Thanks for doing full circle. Which song is that?
It's Plastic Palm Trees.
Clearly, I'm no Detective 27 because I would not have figured that fucking out. Good job out
I'm
of you.
glad. We're hiding it well.
Motherfucker, that's good. Moving forward here, how do you feel like this album, sonically, personally, whatever, moves the band forward from grind? Dylan, it's been a while since we've heard your voice. Let's start with you and have you pass it off to somebody afterwards.
How it moves us forward? I think every album to us is gonna hopefully be a step forward. Just honing in on. We wanted to make this album a bit less disjointed. It was a kind of a process we had more towards the end of the songwriting process of Grind. Had the band stayed together, the band that wrote Grind stayed together, I think we still would have kind of been on a similar trajectory. We were kind of seeing in the writing process of the first album, as we got towards the end, we were just like, man, some of these songs are just like a fucking mess. There's way too many ideas. We can't, it's like we have like musical ADD. We keep like jumping from idea to idea instead of just honing in on the best parts. I heard it in an interview with actually Dave Lombardo from Slayer. That I think when they worked with Rick Rubin, or I guess maybe they worked with Rick Rubin for a couple albums, he was just like, listen, you got a lot of great riffs, just like pick the best 4 ideas for each song and go forward. And we tried to do that for this album. I feel like we tried to apply that to this album and just focus on the best parts of it. It's like, yeah, we might have demoitis with some of the things like we've cracked, got stuck on them and like tried to wedge them into songs where they just didn't really belong anymore. But I feel like we got over that a bit better, or we just moved it where we were a bit better with just optimizing and economizing the songs and just picking the best ideas, focusing on quality over quantity in terms of ideas, and realizing that whatever you did last may not be the best thing you've ever done. And that even after this one, we already have ideas for what's next and what we want to do different. And yeah, I'm looking I think we're all excited to just start writing again and just move on and just like get to the next one. By the time this comes out, we've already, we haven't written anything in 6 months just because, you're focusing on the mixing and the touring and the promotion, and that'll be the case for a bit. But the more you're like forced to listen to your own music just because of just exposure from promotion or playing them live, you're like, okay, I don't want to do this again. Like, I wish this part was written differently. And then you take that to the next album, and I think that's how you just get better. Like, isn't there that theory of like by the 5th album, a band's kind of like figured out their career, or maybe it's hit their apex if they can last that long. And I see how that's possible, because if you do stick to it and stick together and kind of like get to it, eventually you're just so in tune with how you can project your ideas through sound that you don't need to do so much.
I've never heard the 5th album thing, but that does make a lot of fucking sense. So let's go round robin for this next one and see where you guys differ. We'll call out the order here now. We'll go Marissa, Dylan, Angela. What song best exemplifies a Deer Horse? What's the best like gateway song? I guess they're kind of 2 different things. What's the best? I want you to hear this band song, but then also what is actually the best a Deer Horse song?
Ooh, tricky one, especially because they're all so precious to us. I think the best song that I would say that is a Deer Horse is Kind as a Dog, and that's what I would recommend to like really like get people into the band, because it's super fucking heavy. But again, like dynamically and part wise, like it all is very, I think, well executed, and gives way to like melody and whatnot. I can showcase what else we can do, and that's hopefully gets you into the deeper dive. But I guess then like the flip of that, man, I don't know. I guess kind of thinking of classic palm trees again. I think we as a band really just like all did a great job with all of our parts individually, all the extra added layers. Again, Dylan's closeness with that song on the mixing side. Two different kind of vibes and reasonings. I think that classic palm trees shows the capabilities of all of us, and highlights all of our skills in the best way. And kind of as a dog, it's just like in your face, a deer horse, and it has the energy of a deer horse.
That's a really hard one. I think it's for me. It's like if I was to, what is our best? I don't think we've written our best song. I can't. I don't know. I have a hard time answering that one, just because I don't think we're ever finished. I don't look at things like that way. So it's like we've never written the perfect song. You write songs and then you die. You know what I mean? Put that on a shirt, Marissa.
I will try to find space on my note page to write it down.
No, I'm just kidding. We've been making like stupid shirts with like stupid sayings on them, so maybe that should be another one. Write songs and then die.
Bummer music one's coming. Don't worry, Clint.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's hard for me, but so I'm sorry to not be able to give you an answer. But in terms of like showing someone a song, I think it would be dependent on who it is, but probably counted as a dog or beehive or rear view, depending on the person. I think it really depends. I think people have like 30-second attention spans.
Sure.
I think these days, and if they don't know us, they don't know us anything, and it has to catch them super fast just to get them to listen to the next 30 seconds after that. And even then, it's a fight. Every 30 seconds is a fight, even maybe less, 20 seconds. You know what I mean? So I think if it's audience who doesn't know us, yeah, probably something that gets to it pretty quick. So count as a dog, beehive, rear view.
Before we kick over to Angela, I'm going to notate the super bummer vibes or bummer music, whatever. I will fucking wear that. I need an XL. Angela.
Yeah, I also have a hard time answering the what is your best song. Probably if I reframed it and was like, what song are you most proud of? Maybe like collectively, I think I might be the most proud of Texas Math. Because I just think that it was, and it's kind of more like a touchy-feely hippy-dippy thing that makes me say that. It's really just because we were able to, it was the last song we wrote, and we were able to sort of just let it happen. And we did that classic A Deer Horse thing where we tried to not just let it happen. We're all like very like control it kind of people. We want to like really, just like to get every detail right. And I think really actually like giving over to just the actual vibe of the song, and that's a legitimate challenge for us, to just give over to like what's actually just happening, what's naturally coming, and it felt kind of scary because that is a different vibe than we've ever even tried to find before. So I think that might be just, I'm just really proud of us for like going there. Whether it's our best song or not, who fucking knows? And like, who cares? That's up to everybody else, I suppose, to come up with. But I'm really proud of that one for those reasons. But in terms of like just showing somebody off a new album, I think, yeah, probably counted as a dog, is the one that I would show. Because it catches a little bit of everything. It's really heavy. It gets right into it. But also there are some melodic aspects of it that I think people who don't typically listen to heavier music could still get into. But if I'm showing like, somebody who's like a little like
indoctrinated,
cushy around the edges,
the other side.
Sure. Yeah, your average person. That's not weird in any way. Your
Civilian.
basics.
A
Yeah,
civilian.
a civilian. Yes, yeah, a much nicer way to put that. If I was just showing a civilian, I'd probably show him Rear View, or Have Faith. One of those songs. Or I mean, honestly, Texas Math gets at it too. Gets it. I think it's a little bit more digestible. So yeah.
I want to fucking ramble about Texas Math and the whole going with the thing the way you guys did instead of trying to force the thing, because that's clearly a bit of a left turn, and it worked so damn well because you went with it, and where other bands would force it, and it works out really well. But I'm not actually going to do that. I'm just going to make it sound like I didn't do that by saying I didn't do that, and then do all these things. And I'm going to disguise it by saying I'm still really concerned about Marissa's Indian food, so I'm going to fucking try to force this thing into the to the back half here. I've got a handful of questions left, but we're already coming up on an hour. I have to ask two things, and since you were just talking about civilians, I'm gonna go with this one first, and then a question that I'm willing to bet you're gonna see coming, and then we'll wrap away into the dumb way that I end these things. When someone in your life finds out about the band, be it Aunt Jenny's 7-year-old kid, a coworker, grandma and grandpa, whatever's the funniest fucking end of this, how do you describe the band to them? How do they react to the name? You know what? I got a laugh out of Marissa there. Marissa.
I was gonna say I might have to pass this off to you two because the band name that's a you guys thing.
Sure. Okay, you can skip that, but explain the rest of it for us.
Yeah, I guess it depends, and I think we all probably might have this answer. Yeah, depending on who we're talking to, and that funny enough, I have a cousin that lives here who is quite the very much opposite of us in so many different ways, but she's one of our biggest fans and comes to all of our shows. And that if I've described it to her. I'm like, yeah, like we're pretty heavy, and Angela's gonna scream, and you might get a little scared, and that's never deterred, this young 20-something who wears a lot of pink and bright colors and doesn't normally listen to our type of music. But I think most of the people in my family, I've been playing heavy music and whatnot for most of my life, so they kind of know that it's not going to be the lightest cup of tea for the most part, and they're expecting it to be probably not what they would normally listen to. But I don't know. I try to think of what I can relate it to, and I say the 90s, and they're like, oh.
Passing off to Dylan here.
First response is, what? like you play a deer horse? A deer horse? Like, no one knows what the hell I'm saying. And yeah, I'm not Angela and I, we and Rebecca, our old bandmate, were trying to change the band name for like a long time. We both, I think all of us hated the name. I still don't, I'm just kind of fine with the name. Can't say I really like the name still, but but I think I've just accepted that it is what it is. Do I think it's going to make or break our career? Maybe, but, yeah, I think Pearl Jam's a weird name. Soundgarden's a weird name. A Deer Horse is a weird bad name. So yeah, but in terms of the music style, yeah, I usually just say it's like a mix of punk, metal, and rock. Then if they're like who, I go, because it's usually like a question like that. I'm like, oh, like Queens of Stone Age. They're like, what? And then, or I say System of a Down, and they go, I'm like, you ever heard of like that song Chop Suey? They're like, no. And then that's kind of where it ends. Or they know Soundgarden. They do know Sound. If I say, oh, we have like Soundgarden or Alice in Chains, if they're of a certain age, they'll definitely know those bands, I would say. But anything, I can't tell you how many people don't even know who System of a Down is.
It was like equal parts
insane
and makes sense. Like it weirds me out sometimes that System of a Down are who and what they are, where they're selling out arenas and headlining festivals and shit in the way that they are. And like my brain says, really? Headlining? And then
I saw
the other end of that is you don't know who fucking System of a Down is?
I saw in the New York Times maybe 2 years ago when COVID people were starting to do performances again. Slipknot made their like weekend shows. And they're like Slipknot, Madison Square Garden, because we live in New York, and then it says this band has a cult following. Cult following.
Those two things don't work.
Those things don't go together. They're one of the biggest bands in the world. They don't have a cult following.
No, they have a following.
Either like we're in a state of delusion or they're in a state of delusion. I don't know what's going on.
Well, and in 2024, you can argue it until your fucking eyeballs fall out either way. But I'm not going to say for better or worse. It's for worse. I do want to note before we kick over to Angela here that these guys are fucking pros at the mute button here. This has been some stellar work. The only deterrent here is that when stupid shit has been said and my jackass cackle is the only thing happening, everybody else is usually laughing too. They're just good at the mute button. Like right there.
We are laughing.
In silence.
Right. It's just the faces of laughter that nobody will ever see. Anywho, Angela, whatever that question was, go ahead for it.
Well, definitely when people hear that I play in a band, I think because I'm a lady. People, depending on what I'm wearing, actually sometimes not even depending on what I'm wearing, most of the time they're like, oh, what kind of music? And I say super heavy rock music. And they'll be, oh, like what? And I'm like, I don't know. Have you? And then I just start going on a laundry list of bands that they usually have never heard of. I'm like
System of a Down.
I usually start with Melvins. I'm like, do you know the Melvins? Usually
what's your success
no.
rate there?
I would say that's a 5%, 10% success rate. Usually though, if somebody knows Melvins, I'm like, oh, you're gonna like this band. You're gonna like us. I'll just tell you our band name. Here it is. Like, come to our next show.
Sort it out from there.
Yeah. If I say Melvins, they're like, oh, cool. I'm like, you sick. All right, well, you should be listening to us then. Then I kind of like just extrapolate out from Melvins. I'm like, okay, well, how about that? I usually go to System of a Down, or maybe Deftones. We don't really sound like Deftones. We don't really sound like System of a Down either. But what are you gonna do? And then from there, I know. I would love to have Serge's voice. He's incredible. So. Then I keep going out and out and out, and I get over to Alice in Chains usually, and sometimes people don't even know who Alice in Chains is. I'm like, what's going on? Anyway, so I just know that it's a person who's never even listened to rock music, probably, if they don't know who Alice in Chains is. But
weirdly, still probably owns an AC/DC shirt.
Yeah, one that they bought at Urban Outfitters, I'm sure.
Or Walmart.
Yep, yeah. So yeah, that's usually the reaction. Reaction to the name is generally confusion, but weirdly lately, I've been getting, that's a cool band name, and I'm like, is it? I don't agree.
I'll unmute myself to laugh at that. No, I know. I've heard you do that. I love that response. Is it?
Is it?
I'll tell you what.
This is a you problem if you think this band name is good.
Actually, I saw a comment on one of our music videos on YouTube that I died laughing at. It was basically like, and I could tell it was a German person who wrote it just based on the way it was worded, because we have a bunch of German fans. Our record label is German and everything. So makes sense. So this person had made their way over to our music video, clearly probably from some German publication recommending it. And they were like, at first I saw a deer a horse, must be nice indie band. And it was counted as a dog that they were commenting on, and they were like, much different vibe, but I like it. Which I thought was really funny. So anyway, that's our band name is a problem that we're never gonna do anything about. So it's over. I've also accepted it. I kind of like you accept drowning once you realize
Sure.
it's happening.
Sooner or later.
I've accepted our band name as the We're Drowning. So it's over. It's it.
And as the professional she is, Angela has made me feel weird about laughing at a bunch of things by turning it into somebody dying. The mute button, she's laughing. I guess I'm gonna kind of throw my hat like in the Venn diagram middle thing there, where if we're gonna talk about this stuff openly, at first, yeah, I thought the name was dumb, but the more indoctrinated I've gotten with it, yeah, no, it fits, it works.
Well, the name is kind of Texas math, you know.
There.
But,
Jesus fucking Christ! If I was a smart person, I would end this show right there. I'm not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue the conversation about a name before I do the stupid shit that I end this show with that I've already threatened you with like 12 minutes ago. So we've done all this, and like I did a half-ass Google thing, which is as best as you're going to get out of me. Is the name based on the Chinese idiom or is it something else? Either way, somebody please explain. I guess this is either Angela or Dylan to do so. I'll let you guys paper, scissors, rock for it. Oh, she says Dylan on my screen?
It's probably
that's
me.
Angela on my screen.
Okay.
Angela is closest to the creation, and don't, yeah, I'm gonna glaze over when this happens.
Yeah, it's I have a pat answer for it. Yeah, it's based on the Chinese idiom calling a deer a horse, and it means to deceive with an ulterior motive.
Not relevant at all, right?
Never relevant. Yeah, but yeah, it's a cool saying. Interesting meaning. Doesn't actually make a good band name. We made a mistake. We made a terrible mistake.
A dear mistake. So from here, this has been a lot of fun, guys. We're gonna turn this into the home stretch here. I used to call this the rapid fire section, and then I realized that was a stupid thing to do. So I've changed the name as of today to stupid fire questions. We'll go ahead and set a lineup here of Angela, Dylan, Marissa. We'll start off with what should be an easy one: coffee or tea.
Yeah, it depends on the season.
Looks of dismay. Correctly.
Sad answer.
Bad.
Coffee for sure.
Yes.
Coffee.
What is something you could eat for a week straight? Same order.
Paneer tikka masala.
Tacos probably for me.
Yes, thank you.
Pizza.
Beatles or Stones?
Beatles.
Beatles for sure.
Beatles.
Oh wow. The question that is next here, I didn't even realize how ludicrous this should be until just this fucking moment, so I'm going to ask it. If you had to compare your music to an animal, what would it be?
A rabid raccoon.
Okay. Neither a deer nor a horse?
I don't even know. That's an amazing question. Roadkill, I guess. Of any sort.
That's an amazing answer is what it is.
Oh man, I don't know. I my initial gut response was warthog, but I don't even know why I would say that. I guess.
Why would you ever think that? I mean, Marissa.
That's a little maybe inside joke. But I guess a water buffalo.
All right, those were 3 fun answers. The apparently this is back-to-back animal themed here. If you could ask one animal, one question, what's the animal? What's the question?
I would ask an opossum why it won't be my friend.
I don't have room to write notes anymore. I'm sorry, please.
Yeah, I would ask a polar bear, why can't I pet you?
I would ask my dog Ron to express how much he truly loves me in words. I'm a sucker for my dog.
It's the October season. Candy corn, yay or nay?
Oh, nay.
Out. Off the call. Dylan.
I think I'm a nay. I don't even really know what it is.
They don't have that in Canada?
Have you ever heard System of a Down?
Candy corn. I know what it is. It's just like, yeah, I see people in life that remind me of it. I feel like they look like it.
feel like one person comes to mind when I think about that. I'm a nay on the candy corn.
All right.
I'm not a big candy person.
Wow, I really liked you guys till a couple seconds ago. Beer or liquor?
Neither.
I'll give you that.
Damn, that's really hard. I'd probably say liquor.
I'm a 1-1.
Yeah, I'm with Mazzata though. Mazzata, Mazzata's way more.
I mean, one for hydration and one for
sure.
doing the job.
Yeah.
I'm easy.
If you had a mundane superpower, something dumb, something like the example that I give here is one of the first people I asked this was, his response was, I would be able to know what was going to go wrong with my car a week before it happened. Something not spectacular, but fucking worthwhile. What would it be?
Oh man, that's a tough one. Come back to me.
Dylan.
That's really hard. Yeah, I'd say maybe, I don't know, like skipping line. No, I don't really know.
I think
it's a really
you
hard
were on
question.
your way to something good.
I wasn't. I really don't know, man. I'm sorry. Fuck. I don't like.
It's not thinking of something that's like not too
How's
crazy.
it a superpower if it's mundane? Is my thing.
It's like, what is the fucking day-to-day task that you want to be able to have, wave your fingers at and be fucking done with?
I think maybe it would be to know the cost to value ratio of every restaurant I go by.
You've gone from not knowing how to do this to having the smartest answer? I don't know if it's the best, but it's the smartest.
I don't know if it's the best, but it's the smartest.
Oh man, yeah, I don't know. And that when you first started with the question, immediately it was like teleportation. I don't want
sure, you can work your way back into.
Now I'm trying to think of like what's the shorter version of that, and maybe it's like, I don't know.
For me, like the whole
The train
teleportation
always being
thing.
there, or the green light always happening.
That
like
way.
always having an easy commute kind of thing. That would make my life much easier, considering most of my day is running around the boroughs.
Mine would be some form of traffic related, which works its way back to the transportation thing, and whether it's green lights or just not having to drive with idiots, some version of that. Tether my excitement here and go back to Angela.
Okay, I think I figured it out. I think it would just be to have the comeback, the perfect comeback, when you most need it.
Your Costanza.
Yeah, Costanza. The jerk store called and they ran out of you. Yeah, if I could just always have the perfect comeback, that would be great. We work on it. We work on it together in the band, trying to,
we have noticed,
yeah.
Doesn't come through.
So
Costanzaism.
Costanzaism. Anyway, maybe that would be my mundane superpower.
That is so we've had the smartest answer and what might be the best answer side by side in my view. What's your favorite cleaned up swear word or phrase? Well, my example here is mine is shut the front door.
I really like dag nabbit.
Dag nabbit's good.
It's just one that my dad always said because he let it go after a little while, but yeah, he would always go dag nabbit, and I always love the way he said it. So that's probably a good one.
I was gonna say that one too. I fucking hate when people say that, honestly. But that's why I guess it's maybe my favorite because it literally makes me angrier when I hear people say it.
Perfect.
I feel like mine would probably be like shnikes, like in that someone knows Tommy Boy or Chris Farley.
Sure,
I kind of probably like they'd be in on the joke in a way, and you hear it's like, oh, probably like you.
Shnikes. Holy shnikes. Yeah, absolutely. Go-to karaoke song.
My go-to is "Whole Lotta Love" by Led Zeppelin.
I want to hear that.
Mine's probably New York, New York, even though you have to be very selective of where you do it and how many times.
I don't karaoke. I don't think I have a go-to song that I panic.
What do you sing in the shower? What do you sing in the car? What's your favorite thing to sing in the shower or the car?
Honestly, I just kind of like make up little things. But you know what? I love singing "Big Shot" by Billy Joel. That's a car song for me.
Fuck yeah. I love it.
Straight to jail. Fire.
Yeah, before every sales meeting, without his fucking
Oh,
blasting that
man.
thing.
That's how I'm prepping for every show on my way to rehearsals. Fuck yeah.
I know I'm doing something right when the band learns something about themselves during my fucking idiotic things here. Speaking of idiotic, the last thing in this run is sausage links or patties.
None.
You. No beer or liquor, no sausage links or patties.
Just don't live.
Communist. I'd say
Wait,
probably
British?
I'd say probably patties. Nothing like a hamburger.
There's many.
I guess I'm not thinking that though. I'm thinking like breakfast. I'm thinking links. I'm thinking like egg, sausage, toast bagel, dip in, bite in.
See, I'm in between you two. I'm thinking of breakfast, but it's also like the spicy little. Anyways, that's enough breakfast talk for whatever time it is. 6:25. You three members of a deer or horse get sent to an island for the rest of your life. You get to take one album with you. Which album is it? What are you taking?
I'm gonna take Alice in Chains Unplugged.
Ooh, good call.
It's really hard. Like my gut instinct is to say Francis the Butte by the Mars Volta, but like I would maybe say Songs in the Key of Life by Stevie Wonder if I wanted to like not go into a state of schizophrenia in the first couple weeks.
It's just you. Why not? Have some extra people.
Yeah.
I think I would probably take Kid A by Radiohead.
This is the thing I probably shouldn't admit. I only listened to that for the first time all the way through like a month and a half ago. I'm going to say it was good. I'm also...
If I'm on an island, I'm trying to disassociate, so I could just listen to that and stare off into the ocean for a long, long time.
That makes a reasonable amount of fucking sense. At this point, I'm going to say thanks to Angela, Dylan, and Marissa of A Deer or Horse for talking with me today. I'd also like to thank the Brimming Horn dudes for partnering with the show. As always, you'll find links for them, the show, and A Deer or Horse in the description for the show, wherever it is that you're listening to it from. Speaking of wherever it is that you're listening to it from, please hit the old like and subscribe button there. In those links that I previously mentioned, you'll find links to everybody's socials. Please follow them there. At this point, I'm actually going to kick it back to them and not going to direct traffic here as to who's going to introduce Counted as a Dog.
This is Marissa Mazzata from A Deer or Horse, and here is Counted as a Dog from our latest release, Texas App.
She still has the coolest last name. Thanks.
Like you abandoned and stranded. nothing.